Now, let's bring in New York Times opinion columnist and contributing writer at The Atlantic, David Brooks. His new book, out tomorrow, is titled How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen.
David, I suggest you stop writing articles for the Times if they're not going to support your book. I mean, this is embarrassing.
This is a travesty
that they only give you a slight mention here.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to tell you, we're going to get to this in 1 second. I want to follow up though with the conversation we had with Ann. I know you certainly have to have ideas not only about what's going on in Israel with the attacks, but also before the attacks, and this sort of lurch towards illiberalism that divided the country. We just saw what happened in Poland. We see what's been happening in Hungary. What are your thoughts as we talk about this fight between liberal democracy and illiberal democracy and the possible consequences for America?
Well, first, your viewers should know I have a son who served in the Israeli military until about 2 years ago. And he was down in those bases. And when I looked at the casualty lists in the Israeli military, it was his unit. It was Golani 13, Golani 13, Golani 13, over and over again. So many men and women from his unit were killed that day. And I look at it with outrage at that fence, which is supposed to protect the soldiers around there and the communities around there. They turned it into a high-tech disaster. And so they took away the human elements that should be patrolling that area. They put in remote control cameras, alleged remote control machine guns. It was all complete disaster. And so I look at the Israeli government with a mixture of they need to establish deterrence, but are they really competent? And so that's the mood I come in. And so as for the larger point, Joe, you just made it with Ann, there's a war of freedom, but it's not only a war of freedom, it's a war of basic civilization. We're just in a time of increasing barbarism, not only in the Middle East and Ukraine, but in our own country, what Donald Trump is trying to do to this country. And so my question for myself and for all of us is, how do we show up? How do we show up at this moment? And I decided I'm not going to be calloused over. I'm not going to be made barbarized by barbarized times. I'm going to try to be a defiant human. And by that, I mean, I'm going to try to lead with respect with people. I'm going to try to be curious about them. And I'm going to try to do the thing that's most honoring to the other human beings we encounter. And that's to try to understand them, understand their point of view, and make them feel seen, heard, and understood. And the book is my personal response to barbarous times. It's tried to be a guidebook to how to survive in times like this.
Well, let's talk about it in 1 minute. You brought up such an important point that I want to underline now. And that is, you talked about the incompetence of the Israelis, which leads to, if anybody read Ann's book, Twilight of Democracy, from, I think, 2017, 2018, Ann talked about how countries that are moving from Western-style democracies to illiberalism will first clear out the competent players, clear out the people in the state who know how to do their jobs, and they'll bring in cronies and thugs who will blindly follow this illiberal leader. We saw it with Donald Trump, especially in his last 2 years. We've seen it in Hungary, but tragically, we have seen it in Israel, where, as Peggy Noonan wrote this weekend, all of the things we believed about Israel, about their competence, about their ability to protect not only their people, but be a bulwark against extremism in the region, all of those assumptions have been completely dashed.
Shattered.
Because, in part, I hate to be political about it, it's just the truth. You have a government that brought in a bunch of incompetent ideologues that may have played well for Benjamin Netanyahu politically in cobbling together a government, but didn't know the first thing about protecting Israelis. So you had people, settlers, waiting like 6 hours for the army to come to protect them while their children were being shot to death.
Yeah, no, we undervalue this, just the mere act of being great at what you do, at possessing the skills of governance. And every profession has a series of deep skills. And if you're in government, it's how to host a meeting, how to entertain different points of view, how to ask for forgiveness when you've screwed up. And these skills, these social skills, these moral skills just deteriorate when you have third-rate people who don't care about competence. And so when I look at the Trump administration, I look at frankly, a lot of people I've been covering for decades who I consider the A team in the Republican Party. They were not going to be in the Trump administration. Neither was the B team or the C team, because what mattered was fealty to one guy. And so I would look at that administration and say, really? These are the people running the country? And so aside from ideology, aside from everybody else, it's having the courage and the standing to hire people who are just outstanding at their jobs. And that just is not the way things work in an autocracy.
So I read the article yesterday in the Times. I can't wait to read your book. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I need to get this to my children, my 4 kids, to help them, to just help them in interacting with other people, because this was great advice. And halfway through the article, I said, wait a second, I need to get this for myself. And I need to absorb the lessons of asking better questions, really listen, be vulnerable, make others feel known, the essential skills to being human. There's some of these things that, my parents and my family just naturally taught me. There were other things in there, other bits of advice that were just great. When somebody tells you a story about something they're going through, you say, don't one-up them. Don't go, oh my God, I understand that happened to your child. Let me tell you what happened to mine. And da-da. But there's so many things like that you say make all the difference in getting people to relax. The one I love the most is the question, where were you born? Because that opens up so much.
Yeah, no, great. Being just a great conversationalist and asking great questions are so important. So what you refer to is what I call don't be a topper. If somebody says to you, oh, I'm having a problem with my teenage kids, don't say, oh, I'm also having a problem with my teenage kids. It seems like you're trying to relate. Right. What you're really doing is saying, I want to talk about myself and not you. And so other tips are like, be a loud listener. I have a buddy, when you talk to him, it's like talking to one of those Pentecostal churches. He's going like, amen, yes, preach, preach. Just love talking to that guy. A final one I'll give you is don't fear the pause. So if we're talking and my comment is, I start my comment on my shoulder and I talk to my fingertips, at what point have you stopped listening so you can think of what you can say? And you've probably stopped like here. Let me talk to the end of my comment, pause, and then listen. And so what you do on the program every morning here is just be a great conversationalist. Be a good questioner. And I will tell you, people love big questions. They want the question like, what transition are you in the middle of? What crossroads are you at? They give them a chance to talk about their own life from a 30,000 perspective. How does fear show up in your life? If this 5 years of your life is a chapter in your life, what's this chapter about? And if you ask a big question like that, you have a phenomenal conversation, and people leave feeling honored and respected and understood, and there's just nothing more delicious than that.
I absolutely love it.
So you're saying people love to have big conversations about themselves. See, that's another thing you said. Be a looper, which is great. You repeat back what they said, right? So in this case, it would be, so you're telling me people like the big questions. They like to talk about big chapters in their life, and you let them go, right?
Yeah, I ran into a researcher named Dan McAdams, who's at Northwestern. He studies how people tell their life stories. So he pulls them into his office. He asks them big questions. Tell me about the high points of your life, the low points, turning points. And he says half the people cry while talking about their lives. And then he gives them a little fee for their time to pay them a research fee. And a lot of people push back the envelope and say, I'm not taking money for this. This has been one of the best afternoons of my life. No one has ever asked me about my life. And I have found that, I'm sure we've all found that as journalists. How many times do people say, none of your damn business? Zero. People don't say that, because if you ask them respectfully about their life, they love to tell their story. And if you let them tell their story, you're letting them create their story. You're letting them become a better version of themselves. And so to me, paying attention to other people is a generous act. You bring out the best version of themselves they can be. And it's just a tremendously fun experience.
Well, and David, you say another great prompt is asking somebody to tell them something about themselves that people don't know. Tell me something crazy about yourself that people don't know.
Yeah, well, I have a question. I once asked a group, tell me your favorite unimportant thing about you. And so I had to talk, I confess, about my obsession with early Taylor Swift. I'm good with later Taylor Swift. But if you sing me a good song about why I'm stuck, like the guy I really like is going out with the cheer captain, I'm stuck in the bleachers I'm a happy man. I can't even remember high school, but I love high school breakup songs.
Okay, so Taylor Swift, early Taylor.
Early
so
Taylor.
Something unimportant about you that I wouldn't have known?
Well, you know it, but other people don't know.
Okay, what is it?
That I picked this up later in life. That you know, I don't carry around stress, but when I start to, I have these baseball cards that have all the World Series and sort of cartoons from 1903 forward, and I just mindlessly get them out and I just look at them and
He
I
does,
flip
he
at
carries
them.
his cards around
5
everywhere.
minutes, it's sort of my thing. And 5 minutes, it takes me back to when I was like 6 or 7 years old when I bought those cards, and I just sort of exhale, put them down, feel good.
Okay,
It's
I
simple.
like it. I like it.
What about you?
Mini melts.
Oh my God.
I eat like 4
4 or 5 a day.
4 of them a day.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
Yeah.
Dave.